I have gone through Reddit, the chaotic, brilliant mix of memes, debates, and sometimes genius comments to find the most interesting takes about Star Wars Andor. Some of them I agree with, some made me view the show from a different perspective, and I'll be honest, some of them surprised me in ways I didn't expect. Get ready, because I can promise you have no idea where this is heading.
Sagrona.
Starting off with a Reddit post that caught me off guard. Apparently, Andor only has one deleted scene. Just one. Which is kinda wild when you think about it, because Star Wars movies are packed with left out moments, alternate takes, and behind the scenes chaos that fans love to dig through.
Oh, paparazzi. Oh my god.
And of course, being the curious person I am, I went digging. What could possibly be the one scene Tony Gilroy and his team decided to remove? Sadly, I couldn't actually find it anywhere, but instead I stumbled across this. And it might be even more interesting. It seems like there was a written conversation between Perrin and Mon Mothma, a scene that never made it into the script, where Perrin confesses that he knows about her operation. And not only that, he also tells her he would have been completely okay with it. This might not strike you as a big deal, but it completely changes how you see their relationship. It adds this extra heartbreaking layer, because suddenly it's not just political and moral tension between them, it's more personal, and it makes Mon's story feel even heavier.
Gaiety, amusement, these are the hidden things. The music buried beneath all that noise. Joy! Joy!
I've always liked Perrin, a character that had so much untapped potential. That final scene of his really makes it feel like there was more to his story, something that didn't quite make it into the final draft. And that's what makes this deleted moment even more fascinating. It gives us a glimpse of what could have been, a version of Andor that digs even deeper into Mon's and Perrin's story. Moving on, we have one of Reddit's favorite discussions. Characters who technically did bad things, but actually did nothing wrong. Andor is absolutely perfect for this. The show is grounded, messy, and full of morally complex people who feel painfully real. Take Brasso, for example, easily one of the best fits for this trend. He started the riot on Ferrix, and yeah, that riot probably got a few Imperials and some locals killed, but come on, can you really blame him? The Empire had been squeezing the life out of everyone on Ferrix. That explosion of anger wasn't just chaos, it was justice. And beyond that moment, Brasso is one of the most empathetic, selfless characters in the entire series. The scene right before his death is the perfect example of this.
Use us up. Turn us in. You'll pay for this crap.
The moment illustrates his brave and kind nature, ready to sacrifice himself for others. Lonnie, on the other hand, is a more complex case, mainly because you don't actually know if he's motivated by the rebellion at all, or if it's Luthen that brings his rebellious spirit out of him. Either way, you have to respect what this unsung hero is doing, and the toil it takes on a man, something even Luthen himself acknowledges.
Just stay with me, Lonnie. I need all the heroes I can get.
On one hand, you could say that Lonnie is working for the oppressive empire and probably executed a few orders that were morally wrong, but on the other hand, he got killed for telling the truth and for literally saving the rebellion, which brings me to another Reddit post that dives into which character we should feel the most sorry for. Based on what kind of story Andor is telling, there are so many characters that could be talked about here. Lonnie is definitely up there with his heroic sacrifice. He did not deserve his fate. Another character that has to be mentioned is Cyril. Despite him being on the wrong side, you can't help but feel empathy towards him.
He's a romantic character. He's raised in a box by a sort of emotional alpha predator.
Is that how you've been presenting yourself to the world? That would explain a great deal.
It's my favorite character arc of the show, because throughout the entirety of the series we witness Cyril try to become someone, try to make it inside the Empire without actually knowing what's going on around him. He desperately wants to succeed, not by being evil, wrong or oppressive, but by being right. Instead it ends with him realizing that he has accomplished nothing, been used by his partner and never even noticed by the man that sparked his entire journey.
Who are you?
Other important heroes that suffered incredibly difficult moments could be Bix and all the stuff she has gone through. Mon Mothma as well, two characters I will come back to later in the video. Then we have other obvious examples like Cassian Kinoloy, even Caro Rylance, the man who created the Gorman Uprising only to see it get destroyed. That image of him sitting on the ground and crying, it's really striking. Also Cyril's mom, Edie Karn, is worth a mention. Especially that heartbreaking zooming in shot of her realizing that her son probably lost his life in the massacre. Now, I actually have to agree with this post about the opening arc of Season 2, especially Cassian's encounter with those less than brilliant rebels. It definitely feels like the weakest part of the story. I get what Tony Gilroy was going for here. He wanted to showcase that the rebellion wasn't this unified heroic force yet, that it was still scattered, disorganized and far from the tight coordinated group we later see in Rogue One. And that message does come through. But man, it's a frustrating watch. Probably by design, but still it feels like the same point could have been made in a shorter, tighter way. And then there is the actual place.
You don't realize until he escapes, you realize, my God, this is undeveloped Yavin. So we're going to tell the whole story of Yavin up through Rogue One.
Honestly, I love the idea of building up Yavin gradually across each story block. That's such a cool concept, but in practice it just doesn't feel fully earned here. The payoff isn't clear and Yavin ends up being more like a backdrop than a central part of the story. Instead it focused on these overly childish rebels, which did not feel natural or satisfying, rather tiresome, which perfectly brings us to one of the most discussed criticisms the show has gotten on Reddit and in general, that it's slow and boring.
Oh, I've taken care of that. You're at the boring end of the table. These people are fun.
There is no denying that Andor is a very different kind of Star Wars project, but calling it bad just because it moves slowly feels like such a lazy form of criticism. If you actually take the time to pay attention, Andor completely rewards you for it. The storytelling is deliberate and layered, and every quiet moment has weight and purpose.
It's about human behavior and how we treat each other and what we believe in and what we are against.
The pacing isn't a flaw, it's part of the design. It makes you sit with these characters, understand them, and when the action finally hits you, you're already deeply invested. Cyril's story is probably the best example. His final moments wouldn't have landed nearly as hard if we hadn't spent all the time in those quiet, awkward scenes that built who he is.
We could pretend that you're not back.
Moving on, this Reddit post just gets it right. It's obviously not just the women who are written well, but the show really has so many great female leads that adds power to the series. Strong, intelligent, important characters that lay the foundation for both sides of the story. Take Bix. She goes through so much pain and loss. Her entire story is within. It's about survival trauma and the quiet resilience that comes after everything falls apart.
She wants to be strong and she wants to be tough. It kind of does the opposite. It makes her rebellion be internal and self-destructive.
Other than Bix, we have Marva, who is the entire core of that first season. Then there's Mon Mothma, probably the most exposed and vulnerable character in the entire series.
At this point, anything is possible, but they've gone too far and we all know it.
And we can't forget Well, Cinta, and of course Clea, who really gets her moment to shine near the end. Even Dedra, with all her flaws, is an incredible character. She perfectly represents the Empire's obsession with control, and how someone so consumed by their mission can completely lose sight of reality, purpose, and the people around them.
We'll be back in Coruscant. We'll be together. will be rewarded.
For what? What have we accomplished?
When you think about it, alongside Cassian and Luthen, it's really these women who drive Andor forward, something Tony Gilroy says best himself.
The 5 women at the end of the show is really what the show's kind of about. It's the victory, it's the pain, it's the life that these 5 women have had. It really gives the show, I think, its ultimate punch at the end, dramatically.
Next up, it's this post that highlights the incredible sets of Andor, something I definitely feel like is an underrated and important part of the series' success.
Then I turned a corner and it was just stormtroopers, and I was like, okay, even I am a bit like, this is very full on.
Everything is real, even the sort of fancy cakes that they made that Cassian was eating were so beautiful and refined.
There are so many interviews where actors talk about the environment around them, the real locations, the way everything feels alive, and I really believe it changes the performances. Compared to the prequel era green screens or even the volume technology that so many modern Star Wars projects rely on, Andor is on another level. When the actors can physically walk through the world, where they can touch it, see it, feel it, you can tell.
To step in and to work within those sets. It is phenomenal.
But beyond how it affects the actors, I want to take a second to appreciate the people behind the camera. The designers, builders, costume teams, and everyone in pre-production who made these environments come to life. So many details, so many hours of work, and it all comes together seamlessly.
Every time you see a plate, or every time you see a spoon, or you see food on the table, it's a bunch of people that are having long conversations with each other about how to do all this stuff. It's amazing.
That's the beauty of these jobs. It's teamwork at its best.
While researching this video, I came across this question on Reddit. Can you watch Andor without having watched any Star Wars? It doesn't have that many upvotes, but I still find it interesting. The easy answer is yes. Absolutely yes. It's a phenomenal show on its own, and anyone who appreciates good storytelling would probably love it. But if you really break it down, there are some solid arguments both for and against. The big advantage of starting with Andor and then moving on to Rogue One and the original trilogy is the emotional payoff. You'd get to experience Cassian's entire journey firsthand, and by the time you reach Rogue One, that final sacrifice would hit so much harder. I can't even imagine what it would feel like to see that moment after spending 2 whole seasons with his story. But on the other hand, if you wouldn't know about Star Wars, you'd be missing a lot of wider context. The history of the galaxy, the rebels, the Empire, even the Force itself. All of this background information adds another layer to Andor and helps you appreciate just how different and grounded its storytelling really is. So in the end, I don't actually know the definite answer, but I love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And for our final post, it's actually one of my videos that made it onto Reddit. Nearly 900 upvotes, which is honestly insane, so thank you so much for that. If you haven't seen it yet, you can click right here to give it a watch. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know if you'd like to see a part 2 of this sort of Reddit deep dive. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.